Welcome to Grammar, y'all, and thanks for visiting. If you want some chill and purposeful grammar knowledge, make sure you subscribe. Okay, today we're going to address the age-old question, what is a sentence? Or, better yet, how do we help our students recognize what is and is not a sentence? We've got some traditional definitions like a sentence contains a subject and a verb, but that definition doesn't always work, and I'll show you why in a minute. And then we have the definition, a sentence contains a complete thought, but I'm going to take issue with this idea too. To figure out what's not quite right with these definitions, let's look at some sentences. When are you going to the movies? After dinner. Is after dinner a sentence? Well, it certainly contains a complete thought, which is one of those often used definitions for sentences, but it doesn't have the traditional subject and verb. Well, linguists would argue that after dinner is something called an elliptical sentence and is indeed a sentence. Like we use ellipses to note removed words and phrases in quotations, an elliptical sentence doesn't write all of the parts of a complete sentence because these parts are already understood to be there. In this exchange, I am going is implied, but not present. And then let's go back to our often taught definition. A sentence contains a subject and a verb. Let's piece that definition apart. First of all, after dinner is certainly considered a sentence, even though it doesn't contain a subject and a verb. But to confound this definition even more, we have grammatical constructions that contain subjects and verbs and are not a sentence. Bum, bum, bum. What are we going to do? If you recall from our adverbial dependent clause video linked below, every adverbial dependent clause contains three things: a subordinating word, a subject, and a verb. So all of these contain a subject and a verb, but aren't a sentence. So that definition is a little not going to work out in every situation. And also, if we're asking students to look for subjects and verbs, we might really get them turned around when we have gerunds, infinitives, and participles present. So these are grammatical constructions that don't function as verbs, but they contain something called a verbal, which looks like a verb, smells like a verb, tastes like a verb, but isn't the verb of a sentence. Here are some examples. So our traditional definitions for a sentence might work in some situations, but those definitions can be confusing and can hold a lot of caveats. That is, the rule is true until the rule isn't true. This, y'all, is no good, either for you as a teacher or for our students. So what's to be done? Well, I have a hack for identifying sentences, and it is poetic in its simplicity. Over the years, I've tested many sentence hacks. For an overview of all of these different hacks, check out my first grammar book with Darren, Grammar to Get Things Done. Today, we're going to cover the most effective hack. I've used this with students from 6th grade to college, and it just makes sense. And here it is. It's certainly true that. Take any group of words in question. Is it a sentence? Is it not a sentence? Put those words at the end of this hack, and your students will be able to hear whether it's a sentence or not. Here are a couple of examples. It's certainly true that we decide to go to sleep. Sounds like a sentence to me. It's certainly true that after we finished, what? That's not a sentence. It's certainly true that walking down a steep hill with papers in my hand and then what's going to happen I don't understand because I need some words after that. Well, that's clearly not a sentence. Your students will be able to hear this because remember, we know a lot more about language than we think we do. If you want to try some more of these types of exercises, below you're going to find 3 pages of sentences and non-sentences that look like this that you can use in your own classroom. If you want to ask your students to play around with these some, I'd print them out, cut them up, and ask them to walk around the room reading the hack, It's Certainly True That, and what follows it. Then have them collaboratively decide which ones are sentences and which ones are non-sentences. And ask them to think about why, right? It's always good to ask students why. This hack is so much easier than traditional definitions that are often both confusing and conditional. And that's it. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Thanks so much for joining me today. Y'all take care of yourselves. Every adverbial dependent clause contains 3 things. A subordinate... If you recall from our adverbial dependent clause video, one video, not videos. I'm getting tripped up over myself. Blah, 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 blah. This easy hack is so much easier. Easy and easier. This hack is so much easier that, I should probably give you some moments to, well, that's clearly not a sentence.